put this video together to kind of show you how to put the paper together, because I know a lot of people are worried about that. I know some students are even panicking like, oh my God, I have to write the paper. No, you don't. You've been writing it the last 8 weeks. That's what we've been doing. So every time we do a draft, that is a small part of the paper, and we've been doing it in order. So the very first drafts that you turned in, those are your introductions. That's your intro. The next part where we wrote about our sources, that's the next part that goes in. And then the part about our interviews, so that's the next part that goes in. We've been doing everything in order. So it's just about going back and collecting all of the drafts and starting to kind of put them together to turn in. You might have to write a little bit more. If most of your drafts were more mind mappy, well, now we've got to turn that into an essay, but you have the ideas there. So let me show you where you can go to find that information. I'm going to share my screen with you. So here is our Blackboard. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Experience 1. We're going to go back to find our drafts. So in week 2 and week 3, we worked on 2 different drafts. Well, they're kind of the same thing. Both those drafts are the beginning of your paper. That's where you put down the ideas that will be the introduction to your essay. And of course, you can go back, grab that information, and then kind of work around it, develop it, elaborate on it if you need to make it flow as a good introduction. But that has the basic information that I'm looking for an intro. I'm looking for what is your topic? What are you talking about? What's the research question you're investigating? What's your own personal connection to it? Why should we be interested in it? Why should your readers care about it? What do you hope to discover? That's the stuff that I wanted you to talk about in your intro. And that's the stuff that I asked you to write about for draft 1 and draft 2. So you can go to either one to go pick it up. Now, I really liked my draft, my second version of that. So I'm going to go to week 3, but you can go to either week 2 or week 3 and go look at the drafts that you submitted. You can either do it through your grades. I believe that's where you can access yours. In fact, I'll go ahead and access it through my grades as well. I'm going to go to my grades. And I have some things that I submitted here. So there was a very rough draft, the rough draft, the rough draft, and they were at different times. So one of the earlier ones was the very rough draft. This was my second draft that was due in January. And here it is. This was my little blurb about, why am I interested in my topic? What is my topic? Why am I interested in it? What's my personal connection to it? And I can use that as my introduction, right? So I can either download it or go put it in my essay to start writing. Right, so if I'm going to create a brand new, let's come over here, file, new. If I want to start kind of over, just start putting it all together, I'll paste this at the top there. Might make sure that I have it nicely pasted in. Okay. Now I know at the end of the day, Bonnie's going to want this in Times New Roman and 12-point font. And double spaced. I believe this one's already double spaced. Oh no, there it goes. Never mind, it wasn't. So that's my intro. I can add to it. Let's make sure I have talking about the topic. I give a little bit of my own personal connection to it. Oh, there's my question. So I have my question in there. That's what Bonnie wants to see. I talk a little bit about what I might discover. I don't talk about why I think it's important. I think it might need a little bit of exigence, right? Talking about why my audience should care about this. I think it's important for us nursing, I'm pretending to be a nursing student, nursing students. So I'm putting myself in that mindset to obtain the best strategies for reading to make sure we're successful in our classes and in our learning. The better we are in learning, the better nurses will be when we are on the job. So there, I kind of gave a reason for why I think my audience should care about my research. That looks a little bit odd. Let me make sure that the formatting looks odd to me. Yeah, there's something off about that formatting. Copy. Stuff like that. Huh. Well, there's clearly something going on. I have to like mess with my formatting. I don't know why this is at a different line spacing options. We're gonna go double on everything. I just want to make sure that this looks okay. Line spacing, we're at 2. I don't know what's up with it. Well, I'm not going to mess with it right now. I'll deal with it later. So that's my intro. Now, what's next? Well, the next part is my next draft, which was our secondary sources. So that needed to have been its own, we did like about a page where we talked about our 2 sources, our secondary sources that we got from Google Scholar or the library. They got to come from the library or Google Scholar if you want credit for them. If they're not, you're not going to receive credit for them. Different situation. But mine are. Most of us have that. So where can I find that? Well, that was the next draft. I'm going to go to my grades again. And that was the rough draft. That was when we were putting in our secondary sources. And I do have my my original introduction in there. And then the next thing I have is my sources. I even gave it a little like subheading there. And I like that. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to highlight everything I wrote down about my sources. I'm just going to copy it over. You can also download it again and then work off that document. Maybe not a direct copy paste. I'm going to have to copy it without any formatting. Ooh, I see some issues with something I have here. Oh, that looks so bad. Okay, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to download. Yeah, that looks really bad. Looks like I'm going to have to download it because there's some formatting, which can happen, by the way. I'm just going to download the original version and put my new intro on there, or add the stuff that I just got. Enable editing. I'm going to put my latest little additions to my introduction here, which I added just a little extra sentence or 2 right here. Paste and formatted. All right. So now I've pasted my secondary source discussion. Now, if you have it on, if you have where you were talking, if your draft was more like a mind map, then you're gonna have to turn it into some paragraphs now and put it in there. Maybe you had it before, you want to go in there and fix some things up. What is Bonnie looking for? Well, I'm looking to make sure that you are, naming your authors. Don't say in my source, my second source, my third source, in the source. Name the author. Who is that in the article titled by and the author's name? When you explain their ideas, just tell me what is their major claim. If you're going to do a summary, don't make the whole thing the summary. Although if you have that situation, that's fine. You're going to have some feedback from me saying, hey, let's reduce the summary and let's get your voice in there. Because I think a lot of us are so used to, claiming academic voice that we lose our own voice. And so there's a lot of paraphrasing, or my biggest fear is that you have used ChatGPT or something to summarize it, which is not appropriate. I didn't want that. I didn't want any ChatGPT in this discussion, really. But things like that happen, and you're going to hear from me. A lot of you are going to hear from me, especially if you've lost your voice to it, is to minimize that summary and give me more of a discussion of quotes, put in those quotes, and then start talking to me about how you understand that quote. I want to hear your voice. So if you don't have that, expect to hear that in some of my comments. So that's what I have here. I went kind of a really quick discussion of what they were about, maybe in one sentence, is kind of like almost a 1 or 2 sentence summary, and then I went right for introducing some quotes and talking about their ideas. And then I also kind of came in here and I started doing some discussion about the differences between the two sources. You can talk about how they're the same or how they're different, or even, using your own experiences to kind of help you compare and contrast. If I see you doing that, I'm hearing your voice. I'm hearing more of your thoughts and ideas about the sources. I really, really like that. That's where you have taken control, versus when we have just complete summaries, that is, the whole source is in control and you've completely lost your voice. So watch out for that. But don't worry, if you are in that situation, submit it and I'll give you feedback and I'll tell you how to fix it. So what's next after you've got your sources in? Well, right under here, we're going to put our interviews or our observations, or if you did an interview and an observation, you put them in. So where is that? Let's go back to Blackboard, go back to my grades, and we're going to head over to the rough draft. That is where we included our interviews in our essay, and mine should be down here. Yep. Now you might have more of a blank table, and that's okay. That's okay. Don't worry about that. If you haven't gotten them done yet, that's totally fine. Don't worry. If you have gotten them done, you can put them in, and I'll show you what to do in another video, how to deal with interviews and how to deal with observations. But you've submitted, even if you have 2 blank tables, you can bring them over. So what I'm going to do, because I'm having issues when I directly copy paste, I'm just going to go ahead and download the document that I already submitted. I'm going to open it, and I'm going to take the part that is the right here. So this is the new part that I had added. I apologize for all the noise. It's emails coming in, probably from students who are trying to meet with me last minute. There is almost no available space, just a heads up. And so I'm going to go back to my current essay. I'm just going to add this part in. And so now I've added my little blurb at the top, which is what that last rough draft said. Write a paragraph just telling me, what have you chosen to do? Interviews? Why interviews? Who are you in an interview? Tell me about who these people are. Why should we listen to them? Like, what makes them credible here? Why did you choose them? That kind of thing. So that's what I did. I talked a little bit about my interviews. I even talked a little bit about, I was kind of more transparent. I admit it, like some of my questions are AI generated. I like that kind of transparency. It's important when we're doing research to be completely open and honest when we're doing certain things, about all of our processes, about all of our methods. Our audience needs to know. And this comes from the scientific method a lot, because we want to be able to duplicate our results as well. So it should be as transparent to the point where if someone came in and read your essay, they could redo the way you did it to test your results. There's nothing wrong with that. We're open to being honest about that so that we can get further knowledge. So that's what I've done here. You'll see I have my interview here, and I actually have the interview answers. I managed to get them and put them in. But if you don't, that's okay. Don't worry. You can submit a blank table and you're going to be okay. You can do the interviews later on and put them in at the end of the semester if you need to. And if my tables were blank, and I didn't have my interviews, what I would do next is I would, at the very bottom here, create a conclusion as best as you can. I know you're saying, but Miss, I haven't even found the final answers. You're right. But give me something right now to conclude, whether it's just a sentence or 2 or a little paragraph that you can conclude right now, so we can see how you might be taking it. And if we need to go back and revise it or change it, cool, then we'll do that. But I do want you to attempt to give me some kind of conclusion here. And then right under the conclusion, we're going to go ahead and do our works cited page. This is where we're going to put our long citations that are in our big. We'd have these already. If you have your annotated bib, you have this. You don't have to be, where do I get them? How do I type them up? And I'll show you. I'm going to go get mine. Mine are on my Canva. Canva.com. My annotated bibliography. That was one of the things that was required. Go do your citations. These are the long citations. So I'm going to go find mine, which was way down here. Okay. And the first thing that you'll see in mine is my citation. So I already have this. I'm not going to make this difficult. I'm just going to copy them over. Let me see, bring it over, and I'm going to go back to my essay. I believe, no, it's going to be this one right here. I'm just going to paste them in. Awesome. And then let me go get the other one. And now Bonnie's not being super hard on like the formatting so much. I do want to see them as in the way that they should look as best as you can, but it's okay if you can't, or if you don't indent, or if they're missing an italicization. What I care is that you cited it and you got in that habit, form that habit. I comes before M. So usually works cited pages are in alphabetical order. I have an interview that I did. So we're going to go interview with, let's see. Want to make sure I get her name just right. I'm going to go back down. I'll try to change the formatting there. The personal interview, and the date that it happened, 3/01/2023. So that's how we do interviews. Just say interview with, mention their name, and then personal interview and date. And make sure everything is 12-point font, Times New Roman. Although if it's not, don't worry, I'm not gonna take away points. I'll give you like a little note saying, hey, don't forget 12-point font, Times New Roman. I'm gonna do mine. Oh, and I need my title. What was my title? It was Reading Saves Time. Well, actually end up hijacking a song for my title, which I thought that's my favorite thing to do. I love to go like to my favorite music or my favorite songs, and kind of take those songs and hijack them and revise them around and turn them into my titles, because I think they make for really fun titles. And so one of the titles I thought up of based on a song was A Hard Pill to Swallow. You've got to take notes when you read. I don't like that one. Hard to swallow pills, taking notes matters. And so that I think I like that as my title. There's a song out there about hard pills to swallow, and I know there's memes out there about it too, and I kind of like that, so it makes sense with like nursing and reading, and so I kind of like that as my title. So be playful with your titles if you want, and that kind of title makes somebody go, I wonder what that's about, versus if we do something a little bit more boring, which is like, if I had a title, it was like strategies for taking notes for nursing students in college. That's not as exciting, and it might not make someone go, let me see what that's about. But this title might bring someone over like, what's that about? And now that I've got all this, I'm ready to submit it, right? Assuming I had like a better conclusion. I'm not gonna, I'll give a good conclusion here. Let's see. I began with an experience. I can end with an experience. I'm going to try the echo. And for those of you that are curious, if you go back to our Blackboard, and you go to experience 1, week 8, the little choose your own adventure for the cheats if you're having trouble with conclusions, there's quite a few different options for conclusions here that I like. I might do the echo. I might do the solution or the call to action, which I really also like. I'm good at call to action. So I guess I'll do a call to action. Right now I'm figuring, I think, or I'm going to talk directly to nurses. Nurses, we need to take action now before it's too late. And I can reference my sources again. Ingram Bloomfield noted that nurses struggle on the job to read. Nurses struggle to read. Nurses struggle to read when on the job. I don't want that to be you. I don't want that to be you. I don't want you to feel frustrated or give up when you come across important research information that's relevant to your job. Instead, I want you to focus on taking notes, but not just any kind of note. In my own research, I discovered that you need to discuss your ideas with others. Part of learning and note taking and good reading is talking about it. I realized that while notes are effective for learning material, taking notes with others makes the material really stick. I want you to find a friend, a peer, colleague who is down to read with you and down to take notes with you. And if you do it with a partner, if you read with a partner, if you read and take notes with a partner, I can guarantee you'll fully understand the material. And that is my conclusion. That's a nice one. Now here, I haven't yet discussed my findings. I can do that, but I'm going to do that in 2 separate videos because I want to show you how to talk about interviews differently, and I want to show you how to talk about observations. And they're similar, but a little bit different. And so I'll show you that in the next video. This video is just about putting it all together. And one thing you would do before the conclusion and right after your tables, where you put your interviews, your observations, you would discuss your interview or your observations or your interview and observation. Talk about it in a paragraph or 2. What do you talk about? What did you find out? What were they saying? What were they doing? What surprised you? What was interesting? How do they connect to your other sources? How do they connect to each other? How do they connect to you? And I'll show you how to write about this in a little bit. So when you're done, you have it all together. We're going to put file, save as. I'm going to call this my full draft ready for Bond's feedback. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it your title. I'm going to save this in, I think this is in my documents. Let me make sure. I want to save it in, my models. Save. And now that I have it saved, I can go to experience 1, week 8. That's where we're going to submit it. All the way to the bottom, week 8. No, all the way to the bottom. Here it is. Want to make sure that I've met all my expectations. Topic of reading, writing, or learning. Yep, I'm on there. Example of good question. 2 sources must be from Google, the library, or Google Scholar. I know it says one should come from the UTRGV, one should come from Google Scholar. That's fine. As long as they are both from either Google Scholar or the library, you're fine. I think I evaluated them. This stuff, maybe Bonnie can help me figure this out. I got my 2 interviews, or I have 1 interview, 1 observation. And I'm presenting some interesting ideas. I don't know if it's new, but I'm sure Bonnie will help me with that. So it looks like I have everything I need in my paper. Again, here it's talking about it as well. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and submit it. So I'm going to click where it says final draft in week 8. And go to the bottom. I'm going to browse my computer. Oops. I'm going to browse my computer. There's my full draft. I'm going to open it. Oh, because I have to close it. All right, I'll close it down. Now I can attach it. And when I'm done, I hit submit. And I have submitted my draft for feedback. I'm in a good place. So I'm excited to read your essays. If you have questions, feel free to email me, although I probably will not be responding to emails anymore today after 9 p.m. But if it's an emergency, shoot me that email. And if you can also text me, my cell phone is in the syllabus, so don't be afraid to text me if you need help. But once I'm asleep, I'm asleep. So just a heads up on that one. But remember, you already have everything you need. Your intro is in either draft 1 or draft 2 because you worked on it in both of those. The rough draft is where you have your secondary sources. You also have information that is useful to you in your annotated bibliography to put in, and that comes right after your intro. You're going to put your 2 sources, and then right after your 2 sources, you're going to put your interviews or your observations. And after that, you're going to have your conclusion, and then you're going to give me your works cited page and submit it. And for those of you that already have your your interviews or observations complete, watch out for the next 2 videos. I'm going to talk to you about how to talk about what to discuss about your interviews or your observations. All right, my beautiful people, I will see you after spring break.